WNBA just got caught red-handed in the biggest officiating scandal in sports history. And the proof isn't coming from some conspiracy theorist with a YouTube channel. It's coming directly from international referees who just exposed how corrupt the domestic league really is. What happened at the FIBA World Cup qualifiers didn't just reveal bad officiating. It revealed a coordinated corporate crime ring designed to suppress the most valuable player in women's basketball. And now that the evidence is out there for the entire world to see, the veteran establishment is scrambling to cover their tracks with the most delusional press conference performance you'll ever witness.
Because the FIBA referees put them on notice. Pretty much let them be known. We ain't doing what y'all would be doing in the WNBA. So, quite frankly, the FIBA referees set the tone for how a game...
Here's what actually went down. Caitlin Clark steps onto international courts for the FIBA World Cup qualifiers, and suddenly something miraculous happens. The constant physical abuse stops. The blindside hits disappear. The flagrant fouls that weren't being called in the WNBA, international referees are whistling them immediately. Why? Because FIBA referees don't give a damn about WNBA locker room politics. They don't care about protecting veteran egos. They don't care about some unwritten rule that rookies need to pay their dues by getting beaten up. They just call basketball the way it's supposed to be called. And the moment Caitlin Clark gets fair officiating, she absolutely demolishes the entire tournament. She's moving like a basketball surgeon, dropping assists and scoring at will, completely untouchable. The International MVP award wasn't even close. She made every other player on that court look like they were moving in slow motion.
Don't want to get too specific into details, but knowing that this new CBA is going to be historic. It's going to create generational success between players of all levels, and really exciting.
But here's where this gets absolutely insane. For an entire WNBA rookie season, we were fed this toxic narrative that Clark just needed to adjust to the physicality. Sports media talking heads kept saying the brutal hits were normal. The league office stayed silent while veterans were literally clotheslining their biggest star. Remember Chennedy Carter's blindside body check? Remember all those non-basketball plays that somehow weren't flagrant fouls? WNBA referees swallowed their whistles game after game, letting legacy players physically intimidate and batter the one person bringing billions in revenue to the league. They called it letting them play. But what they were really doing was running a protection racket for insecure veterans who couldn't compete with Clark's talent, so they had to resort to assault.
And really be in a space where we're in collaboration with the WNBA. You know, we are now a part of a rev share system, and we are going to see the fruits of our labor in a way that we've never done before.
Now we have mathematical proof this was all coordinated suppression. The same player who was getting mauled in WNBA games just dominated international competition the second she got fair officiating. Think about what that means. FIBA referees proved that when you remove the artificial physical intimidation, Caitlin Clark is literally unguardable. She's not struggling with professional physicality. She was struggling with referees who were actively allowing her to get attacked. The international tournament just exposed the biggest officiating scandal in sports history, broadcast live to millions of viewers worldwide. The WNBA wasn't protecting competitive integrity. They were protecting fragile egos by letting veterans commit assault.
Negotiations with the WNBA. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, what we could take from Unrivaled was just the way that players were treated and how we had a standard to make sure that everybody had access to everything that they needed to build their basketball, build their game in a way.
And get this, right as the FIBA MVP announcement is sending shockwaves through the basketball world, the WNBA Players Union suddenly reaches a historic collective bargaining agreement. Massive salary increases, charter flights, better conditions across the board. The biggest financial upgrade in league history. And immediately before the ink is even dry, veteran leaders are sprinting to microphones to take credit for this windfall. The audacity is breathtaking. These are the same players who spent months trying to physically and mentally break Caitlin Clark. The same players who used media interviews to diminish her impact. Now, they're standing in front of cameras claiming they're brilliant negotiators who secured this massive deal through their fierce leadership. Listen to Breena Stewart's comments about this being the result of their historic generational success. I need you to understand the level of delusion required to make that statement. For nearly 30 years, the WNBA operated at massive financial losses. Empty arenas, terrible TV ratings, constant bailouts from the NBA. The legacy veterans labored for decades, and their labor produced a product that needed life support to survive. Then a generational anomaly arrives from Iowa. She shatters every collegiate viewership record. She sells out every arena she steps into. She forces television networks to rip up old contracts and negotiate billion-dollar media deals. The entire financial boom is subsidized by the Caitlin Clark stimulus package. Yet Stewart has the unmitigated audacity to claim this influx of capital is the fruit of their labor. It's corporate extortion built on manufactured narratives. But wait, it gets worse. When asked directly about what catalyzed this massive new deal, Stewart delivered the most mathematically bankrupt statement in modern sports media history. She actually claimed that Unrivaled, her personal off-season startup league, was the real catalyst that forced the WNBA to improve conditions. Let me repeat that. A league that catastrophically failed in ratings, barely averaging 120,000 viewers on national television, somehow forced a multi-billion-dollar negotiation. She's ignoring the player who pulls 334,000 viewers for meaningless exhibition games on overflow channels. She's erasing the point guard who just swept FIBA qualifiers and won international MVP. Stewart is attempting to rewrite history in real time, claiming her failed business venture created leverage that Caitlin Clark's unprecedented popularity actually generated. Here's what's really happening behind these delusional press conferences. The WNBA Players Union engaged in scorched earth negotiations with billionaire owners over revenue sharing. Veterans pounded tables demanding massive slices of the economic pie, but the owners saw everything. They watched FIBA officiating expose the WNBA's corrupt physical mandate. They saw Clark dominate internationally the moment the playing field was leveled. They witnessed catastrophic viewership numbers for veteran-led alternative leagues. The billionaire owners realized they held all the leverage. When the union threatened lockouts, owners called their bluff. If veterans locked out the season, they'd be setting fire to the only winning lottery ticket they've ever possessed. The union immediately folded and secured a deal they're now desperately trying to take credit for. The free market isn't fooled by manufactured press conferences. Millions of engaged consumers who buy tickets, merchandise, and generate television ratings see exactly what's happening. They witnessed blatant physical sabotage allowed by WNBA referees. They see veteran leadership attempting to steal credit for a financial boom they didn't create. They see the greatest playmaker of this generation constantly marginalized by an insecure old guard. The establishment is playing corporate chicken with their own fan base, actively destroying goodwill from the exact demographic that pays their massive salaries. International referees just exposed their corruption to the entire globe, and instead of accountability, we're getting gaslighting about who deserves credit for success they tried to sabotage. So here's the brutal reality heading into next season. The training wheels are coming off. The petty domestic politics have been globally exposed. When Caitlin Clark steps onto that court in May, she won't just be fighting opposing defenses. She'll be operating under a CBA she single-handedly funded, with the ultimate green light to obliterate competition without mercy or political correctness. The establishment spent an entire year trying to break her will through referees, manipulated narratives, and artificial suppression. But you can't suppress fundamental laws of physics. The market has spoken through viewers, sponsors, international committees, and global syndicates. They don't care about the fragile delusions of legacy veterans. They only care about elite production, and Clark is the only asset mathematically capable of delivering at macroeconomic scale. The hostile takeover is mathematically inevitable. Veterans can hold press conferences, brag about new salaries, and claim credit for revenue they didn't generate. But reality is written in permanent ink. The polite era of participation trophies is dead. We've entered the ruthless age of absolute leverage, and the total liquidation of the old guard is rapidly approaching. The FIBA referees didn't just expose bad officiating. They exposed a conspiracy to suppress greatness, and now that the evidence is public, there's nowhere left to hide. What do you think happens when the most dominant player in basketball history gets fair officiating for an entire season? Drop your predictions in the comments, smash that like button if this breakdown opened your eyes, and subscribe because this revolution is just getting started. The reckoning is coming, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful to watch.